Okay, next is problem number 10, where we have a solver model, and we'll do this part first, the E part, which is what formulas to use in different cells, and then we will look at the solver parameters. So here all the information is given at the top, starting from row 16 are the computations. So first is B17. So B17 is production per worker per quarter. So for 1 quarter we have hours per day and days per quarter. So we need to multiply B13 and B12. So B13 times B12, and then you divide by the standard hours, which is B11. Okay, next is B18 is wages per worker per quarter, and that will be equal to, you have 8 hours, get same like here, B13 times B12, that's the total number of hours we have in 1 quarter, and the wage rate is given by B3, so times B3. B19 is overtime cost per unit, so the labor hours needed is B11, and overtime wages is given in B4. So B11 times B4. Okay. B22 is the beginning inventory. So the beginning number of workers. So this is hire and fire table. So that is beginning number of workers. Beginning number of workers is initial condition is cell E11, and then E22. So E22 is number of workers, so that will be beginning workers plus hire minus fire. So B22 plus C22 minus D22. So this is B22 plus C22 minus D22. Next is B23. So B23 is the beginning number of workers for quarter 2, which is the number of workers that we had in quarter 1, which is E22. So this is equal to E22. Next is C26. C26, so that is the sum of hires. So that will be sum of C22 through C25. C22 through C25. And D26 is the same for fire. So that is equal to sum of D22 through D25. And E26 is the same thing for number of workers. So E26 is sum of E22 through E25. And then we have B29. So that is beginning inventory for first quarter. So which should be equal to the current inventory. Current inventory is E12. C29, okay, let's see, C29 is regular time production for quarter 1. So that will be equal to number of workers we have times production per worker per quarter. So it is E22 times B17. But you have to be careful because B17 is a fixed cell. So you have to go $B $17. Okay, if you forget the dollar signs, then that is an error. You will not get full credit if you don't include the dollar signs. F29, so F29 is the demand. So demand is E4. So this is equal to E4. G29 is ending inventory. So the ending inventory is sum of all of the beginning inventory, regular time production, overtime production, subcontracting production, and then you subtract the demand from it. So this will be equal to sum of B29 through E29, and then you subtract F29. Next is H29. Okay, H29 is the overtime limit. Okay, so here is H29, overtime limit. So overtime limit is regular time production times the overtime limit, which is cell B14. And once again, remember, cell B14 must be fixed absolute cell, so it is $B, $14. So this is C29 times $B, $14. Next is G33. G33 is the sum of ending inventory, so that is sum of these four cells, G29 through G32. So this is sum of G29 through G32. Next is B35. So B35 is wages, total wages. Now here we have the total number of workers who need to be paid, worker quarters, that times the wages. So it will be E26 times E18, B18. So E26 times B18. Now B36 is overtime cost. So now here is the overtime units produced, which is D33, times the overtime cost per unit, which is B19. So we have D33 times B19. Next is B37, which is subcontracting cost. So now you have the total subcontracting production in E33 times subcontracting cost per unit, which is given here in cell B5. B38 is next, which is hiring cost. So total workers hired is right here, cell C26 times hiring cost is given in cell B7, so that is B7. C39 is firing cost, and the total workers fired is in cell D26, and cell B8 has the firing cost per worker. This is B40 is carrying cost. Now here is the ending inventory, which is cell G33, times the carrying cost per unit per quarter is in cell B6. Now B41, okay, so that's the sum of all the costs. So that is sum of B35 through B40. Okay, now we will do A. So this is E. Now we will do A. A is what is the solver target cell. Solver target cell is B41. So that's the target cell that we want to minimize that. And B is what are the solver changing cells. Changing cells are these two sets. So C22 through D25, C22 through D25, and over time, so that will be D29 through E32. Okay, then we have C is what are the solver constraints. So solver constraints are we cannot produce more than the overtime limit. So D29 through D32 must be less than or equal to H29 through H32. So that is the overtime capacity constraint. Okay, so here is the overtime capacity. Okay. Next is your ending inventories cannot go below the safety stock. So ending inventories are G29 through G32. That should be greater than or equal to E13. So that is the safety stock constraint. Okay. And we have the changing cells may have to be integer, so if required you have to add this C22 to D25 equal to integer if required, because if it automatically comes out to be integer, then there is no need. And then the next one is D29 through E32 is also integer if required. So that's C. Now D is what are the options of solver that must be checked. So we have options would be, one is changing cells non-negative. So that's one thing we have to check. And this is a linear programming model. So simplex LP, that is the other one that we have to check.